Part 2 this morning from the zombie weaver agency of Rosamond, California. It is 37 after midnight. It is Monday, the 8th of January, 2024. Okay, we're talking about Justin King's Beau, the fifth column, doing his last video regarding science fiction. His view and his intake of science fiction, how it's political at this point over here because it pisses people off. It's supposed to piss people off because it's wokeness. If we had this wokeness stuff going on, how come the older science fiction stuff was never pissing other people off? Or did they actually like these days the Outer Limits or even Twilight Zone? Rod Serling, I think, would probably scare off the political science people if we're going to be doing this wokeness crap. Because Rod Serling was trying to tell people about what was happening with humanity, one way or another. It's said in English circles, literature and of academia that we steal from each other. We're thieves of the night. We're thieves of the day. We're thieves, period. We see something of a good element, we're going to use the damn thing. We're going to keep repeating the cycle. The thing is about us, humanity, and about life itself in the universe, we're full of repeats. We're recycling each other. We're making things known again and again and again. Different way of dressing the damn thing, but we're not doing the Emperor's New Clothing here, are we? Is that considered science fiction? There was a fictional story out there, I think in the 18 or 1700s, about this one emperor, or actually this one king of a country, who decided he wants the best clothing around, and this guy was a royal asshole. I'd say it, but he was a royal asshole to his people. Until this one tailor wanted to make fun of his ass, literally. So he was commissioned by this king to make him the best clothing ever, and so he did. Except the clothing was made into imagination and threw it into his head. The emperor knew clothes, and the emperor was dumb enough, or the king, however you want to look at it, if you want to look at it in a political point of view, that he put on the stuff, and he wanted to show it off to people. Except this stuff was all in his head, and he was dumb enough to fall for this one. Butt naked, butt naked. All he needed was a good beer can with him, and he'd be something like every other Tom, Dick, and Harry who hated wokeism. Admire this one. Admire their Emperor's New Clothes. He's butt naked. He looks like a damn living statues that you would see concerning about the realistic way of humanity looks like. Greeks tried to do this Olympian pose, strengths, and muscles and stuff like that. And then you have the realistic Renaissance artists who are trying to get the real schlub, and it looks like he's naked from the top down, chiseled in stone. Scares people the hell out of it like this one because this was anatomically correct on this one. But think of the anatomically correct doofus on a horse parading around town, showing off his new clothing. God, it was almost worse than watching Lady Godiva. Oh yeah, I heard about stories about that one, Lady Godiva. He even made a musical on that one back in the '60s. A woman dressed around on a horse, long mane, butt naked. The imaginations of the writers out there. Is it wokeism or is it not wokeism? Or is this scary as hell for those who are afraid of this wokeism thing that they got going on? And it can never be defined. What the hell is wokeism? But we got wokeism in science fiction. It's all liberal. Well, are you for the empire or not for the empire? Are you out there for empires going out to different planets and scaring the crap out of them and telling them what to do? Or are you part of the Federation out there trying to tell them not what to do, but to be yourselves and possibly join our merry band? Yeah, it's wokeism. It's political. It's. Oh, so you are part of the empire. No, I'm for freedom. I'm for freedom. I'm just going to force people down your throat. I'm just going to force this down your throat. Oh, so you're doing Sharia law then? No. We want Christianity. We don't want Sharia. We don't want Islamophobia. We don't want that kind of crap. We want Christianity. Oh, so in the Bible, when Christ was a Jew, Christ was a Jew. Ugh. Christ was a Christian. We worship Christians. Christians are cool. I'm telling you, you got to worship Christian, or otherwise they're going to take this thing and beat it over your head. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with this screwed up society who doesn't know his ass from a hot rock. We worry about education of our youth. We keep stressing about education about our youth. Screw the older generations that are already going through their damn ignorance like crazy, because they're not going to learn, right? Are you sure about that? I'm 57 years old. I'm in a college. I'm learning things. Am I woke? Am I woke? Is it? Well, let's see. I'm awake. Basically, my body is functioning. My brain is still working, even though it wants to go back to bed and sleep. But I'm already past the threshold of going back to bed and getting a proper sleep. So now I got to stay up for a long period of day. When I get home from school, first thing I do after taking care of my dog is heading to bed and taking a nap and getting my body re-regulated all over again. But am I woke? Am I woke, you see? See, sometimes I like to do a little different things. We're supposed to be doing different things. We're different people at this point over here, but am I going to be doing the same thing? If I'm going to be doing the same thing, then am I considered woke or not wokeism? If I'm not considered wokeism, then what the hell am I? These mindless adults that say, well, you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way. There can't be any creativity, that's woke, you can't do that. You have to follow law, you have to follow law and order. Why see it? I see it. It's not your way, it's my way. I don't have a way to talk about it, I'll tell you that much. Okay, so I probably made fun of the Beau, the fifth column at this point over here, dancing around different things left and right without wearing a Star Trek shirt. Believe me, I got a lot of faded and broken out and sweat stained Star Trek shirts I've been wearing for years. And not just for the camera. I mean, I'll wear a shirt long enough to maybe it's going to be standing up or falling down and asking and pleading for the washing machine. Joining its companions in a bag of laundry, screaming and yelling for, clean me, clean me. Well, give it about another 3 more years in a shirt. My memorial to my fallen family a long time ago. The reason why I do my channel, Diary of the Griever, named John Weaver, which is me, is I deal a memorial to my memory, my family, everything else regarding death. Mourning, grieving, then observations, politics, science, literature, art, anything. Why not? That's what I do. I don't push things down people's throat. I'm not saying to people left and right, oh, what about this? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. You're going to talk about this because I'm talking about it. And you're going to talk about it because I want to see it in the damn comments right now. I want to see them damn likes. I want to see more of them comments. You will subscribe to my channel. You will subscribe to my channel. I may have done that in the past because I got into the rating shit they got going on with the Google and the YouTube and the zeros and one programming algorithm, marketing algorithms left and right. I wouldn't be surprised if AI was involved in this damn shit. Is that science fiction? Dealing with technology? Technology we have for today, is that considered science fiction these days? Can we talk about it as science fiction? Can we compare that to Avatar or Avatar? I watched that movie once or twice. I couldn't get into it. And now we have Way of the Water. I haven't even seen that one. I mean, the special effects, I understand, are stunning. Very stunning. I'm looking at the damn thing. I'm like, oh, God, you're making me sick to my stomach. Something about it was making me sick to my stomach. But it's just a movie, right? It's just a movie. Well, other things were just a movie. Other things were just a movie. Other things were just things. Were they considered wokeism? Were they considered political? Were they considered about a viewpoint that we couldn't deal with or understand? Or is it, I can't deal with that. So now I got to throw that out to people. Don't watch that because I say so. And that's how it's becoming more and more independent. People who don't want to have open minds, or minds try to expand just a little bit. They're comfortable fitting in a box, and yet they don't want to see anything else beyond the box but their own box. And then put them into another smaller box and a smaller box, and open-mindedness, accepting anything and everything, or just trying to figure out anything and everything, and just say it's fast. What people with wokeism understand the universe, or is the people without wokeism can try to understanding the universe? How do they understand the universe? Which form of the universe? Are they talking about their own little area? That's their own universe? Okay, that's considered their own universe. What about beyond that? That'd be people concerning about flat Earth. That could have been science fiction right there. That would have been considered science fiction right there. I mean, we had scientists talking about putting life in tubes with artificial lighting and making habitable tubes out there in space. Or how about converting an entire solar system into a shell to hold on to the last of the sun's uh, energy and heat and keep life going in this shell called a Dyson sphere? That's considered something there. Or how about geophysical stuff? I mean, coming across crystals out of the rocks, and you see these multi-crystal entities in there. I mean, they're crystalline stuff. They're not live, not that we know of. I mean, there's a lot of things we look about and try to understand if it's real or not. And then we try putting our own political viewpoints in a damn thing, or our own moralistic, scares the hell out of people left and right. So he was talking about science fiction. He was talking about how science fiction scares the hell out of people because it's supposed to be hard looking at. Not really. You make it hard because you don't want to understand it. You don't want to grasp the concepts. You don't want to see it as is. You are forcing yourself to watch something over here, and they say, well, it's got to be hard because that way you get to learn it. No, not really. As I said before, I threw in a Disney thing because maybe it does take a spoonful of sugar to help a medication, which is sour as hell, to go down in order for them to understand it. Put them into a format that they can actually understand and enjoy, and they're taking their pill. They're taking their dose of reality. They're taking their dose of understanding reality. And maybe somehow it'll filter through the system, hit their brain, and explode in there somewhere. Star Wars was just epic. Want to be out there and epic. Star Trek was more subtle. But Star Trek was following the other subtle writers of the 50s and 60s. And back then, they weren't as crazy concerning about the wokeism crap we got right now. No, they want the patriotic crap. Political. They wanted to see American traditions and values and stuff like that, but nothing that would go beyond that. Our shows, our science fiction movies back then were also based on fear. If you want to argue about wokeism, you go back further. This is why I kept saying history, history, history. Not just the science fiction history, beyond that. Did I watch other cartoon shows growing up? Yeah. People beating up on each other, characters beating up on each other. Good versus evil beating up on each other, blowing things up. A great American hero, G.I. Joe, and the toy line that drove it mad. Not to mention He-Man and the toy line. And God knows everything else back in the 70s and 80s trying to show how popular they were. How about that, Groban? And yet the kids are supposed to be accepting it as normal. How about shooting guns at each other? Let's see, we did that when we were back in the 40s and 50s, or earlier than that. How about the old serial westerns? Was that considered wokeism? Was that considered something that we would consider wokeism? Or is that as Americana? No, we're talking about Manifest Destiny. Didn't think about that one, did you? Didn't think about the European colonists coming over to this land of the new, which has already been inhabited already by immigrants that came over generations past to make landfall from one area to another area. Keep forgetting that humanity, in its 200, 300,000 year existence in life, or maybe longer than that, expanding from the continent to continent to continent, taking generations as it goes and scattering seeds and fighting for resources around it, habitable lands and fresh water, good growing climate, livestock, and food. Putting yourselves on ships and sailing away or crossing land bridges. Is that considered wokeism? Is that considered landmass? Is that considered history? Well, hell, we write stories in the book called Bible or the Quran or something else to describe man's journey. To describe man's journey. Didn't matter what kind of form he was taking it, how he was taking it, he was taking it. So now we got to worry about the science fiction crap these days. Now I got to deal with the metaphor concerning about it. I got to look at things in a different light. I got to look at things because somebody else is trying to look at these things over here and I'm reacting to it like a skin itch. Because it was itching me. In here. I'm listening to Justine King, aka Beau of the Fifth Column. He tries to make some pretty decent observations regarding politics left and right. I'll grant him that one. When he crossed over science fiction and he's trying to describe that as science fiction is hard. I'm like, no, it isn't. It isn't. We've had it exposed so many damn times it's not even funny. But you're not getting it. Science fiction is not hard. Science fiction is just another way of retelling human history. It's telling stories about of potential future. And maybe that's wokeism that people don't want to understand about the future. They want to go back in the past. And the problem is when they read about the past, it's still science fiction. If you want to look at it that way. We think about science fiction as mechanics. I mean, is it? Is it really? Just mechanical? Then we'd be talking about robots all damn day. And machinery, and that's about it. But the machineries we make up in here, that function out here. Like these damn things. Cell phones. Perspective. Context. That's what you have to look out for. Context. Perspective. And what viewpoint are you looking at? Is it yours or someone else's? We look at the same subject matter at different viewpoints, different angles, different light spectrums, but it's still the same topic. You want to talk about science? Get yourself a flashlight, get yourself a crystal object, shine light through it. Sometimes you'll see the rainbow effect, light being broken down into different wavelengths. And they've measured from the ultraviolet to the gamma. That's a hell of a spectrum. And in between, We have our own little individual point of views. We're looking at the topic. Science fiction is just another viewpoint looking at the topic. I didn't know these things growing up. They didn't know it back then. They taught by rote. They taught by example. They taught by you learn this or else. You talk about Sharia law during those days. You talk about being enforced. Well, sometimes certain school districts want it that way. Other times, private schools want it the other way. That you have to see it through their viewpoint in order to graduate. You have to see it through their viewpoint because that's what they say so. For those who hadn't been, they struggle. And then they look at the academia world. Collective knowledge is left and right of people, of experiences, of stories, of journeys, personal and more, of imaginations, of different cultures. You had one emperor in history who looked at the Library of Alexandria, but he couldn't deal with it. I never could understand the reason why this Christian emperor, I think I came across, and I have to re-examine that particular story for the reason why this particular emperor decided that the city of Alexandria, actually the Library of Alexandria, had to be burned, had to be destroyed. Wokeism, art, literature, science, mechanics, looking at the earth and a viewpoint that they couldn't even deal with. So let's destroy things. Let's destroy knowledge. So now we're dealing with that. Science fiction? Shit, give me a break. Science fiction only explains what's going on, but you still have to give it into a format where people can understand it. And if they don't understand it, that's on them, not on the storyteller. How many times can you tell a joke to a person until it gets to the point where it becomes an irritant? At first, you're exploded with laughter. Then after a while, it's a slight laughter. And then afterwards, it's like, you telling me this shit again? What's with you? That's how we're looking at things these days, isn't it? As I said before, I'm seeing things in different lights and different viewpoints and perspectives in my age. I talk about it on my channel a great deal. I talk about how I'm going through personal things. I'm talking about how I'm looking at political point of views. I'm talking about how we're looking at life one way or another. How we're trying to cope with it. How we're trying to understand it. How is it affecting us and how is it not supposed to be affecting us? Do you understand any of this? And it's not up to me to educate you. It's for you to listen. It's for you to ask questions. Someone's telling you a story. Someone's telling you something. They want to tell the story. But it's up to you if you want to pay attention. It's up to you if you got your curiosity urgled. It's up to you to want to know more. It's not hard. It's allowing yourself permission to be open. Not run away. Science fiction is not supposed to be hard. We make it hard. We make it hard on ourselves. We deny. We don't want to deal with it. It's not in our own perspective and context. People want the 8-minute caption on the damn thing. Deal with it. How do you take in the universe? Get a telescope, you look at a small portion of it. You get multiple views from different viewpoints, and you're picking up a mosaic. You're getting a larger viewpoint of how small you really are compared to anything and everything around you. Scares you, doesn't it? You're out of control. The universe is in control. How do you do that? It always has been there. You've been part of it. You've been part of this thing. So why keep denying it? Because it's scary, it's vast, it's alien. Look at yourself. You're scary, you're vast, and you're alien. Your own biological entity broken down into subquantum. You're scary enough. Your own fear and ignorance. Scary enough. You want things back the way they were, back into the childhood area where you can only deal with that. But you're forgetting the perspective you had as a child. It's a hell of a lot different than an adult, and you can't go back on that one. There's no way in hell you can. You can force it down people's throat, but it's not going to work. We woke up, and that's the scary thing. We wanted to be asleep. We wanted to be a permanent Rip Van Winkle. Well, to be that, you might as well be dead. I'm serious. You might as well be dead. Both body, mind, and soul. Because what you've been reading in the texts, your faith-based texts, we are open-minded people. We have to explore. We are given guidelines and directions, but we are given freedom to do so. We have the decision and the right. We have the power to enlighten ourselves. However, there are consequences because we start to realize more and more. We keep saying ignorance is bliss, and therefore we don't have to deal with the pain of it all. Bullshit. Bullshit. Then you see it happening around you. Then what do? Push back against it? Are you doing it because it's wokeness or because you're fighting for survival? You're fighting for your own survival. You're fighting for survival of something else. But you're fighting for survival. Either for fear or for something else. What motivates you? Does books and literature and knowledge scare you? Are you going to be constantly looking at the ground all the damn time while running into things left and right? You want people to do the same damn shit? Well, hell, give them a damn smartphone to be doing that all day. I've seen it happen to a lot of people doing that. Carry the smartphones around and they think it's so damn smart that they're hooked into it. I'm an addict of it. I woke up this morning looking for stuff. Then I found this one episode that got me on the ranting and raving. But after I finished this ranting and raving, I got to drown myself in a shower and get myself ready to get to a bus 2 miles away, walking in the freezing cold, and then taking that nice warm bus over to a campus where I got to feel it and feed it with every other context out there. A decision, a choice made a long time ago. Not because of wokeness. Ooh, it's a liberal school. It's not conservative. Well, what's a conservative? Well, I don't know, something conservative. Something unidentifiable, including the term wokeness. So my question, what is wokeness? Fear. You're afraid of wokeness. You're afraid, period. You're afraid of having your mind open to see what's in front of you, what's behind you, what's around you. You're afraid of perspective and context. You're afraid of moving forward because it terrifies you because you don't know what the next step is. And you don't want the next step. You just want to stay there and tell people to stay where they are and be safe about it. You want your own comfort. You don't want to be uncomfortable. So maybe in an essence that he was right, that we have to be uncomfortable considering about science fiction. It's not just fiction. It's not just science fiction. It's everything around you. We're comfort in our own stink, the own decay rate of matter. We're comfortable in the decay, and we're rotting away, and it's all right. But we want to preserve, don't we? But we can't preserve it. There's no way to preserve. We have to keep going forward. We have to keep shedding. We have to keep renewing. This is life. This is life. And if we can't acknowledge that, then you're just going to be like every other piece of ash out there that goes off and crumbles into non-existence. You're afraid of that? Well, guess what? Eventually, we'll be that. Every single one of us. Good morning, boys and girls. School bell just rang.